What is the difference, the biggest difference between a regular cigarette and tobacco and e-vapor products, the Juul, anything? What's the biggest
That's a
difference?
great question because I've never been asked it like that. But the biggest difference between a combustible cigarette and an electronic cigarette is that there is no combustion in an electronic cigarette. So combustion is the deadliest part of a cigarette. We're lighting it on fire, we're inhaling tar, smoke, burning paper, and tobacco. That action simply does not exist in an electronic cigarette. Okay, it's a vaporized product, meaning it's a liquid that heats up and emits a vapor and not actual tobacco smoke. Tobacco smoke is actually the killer in cigarette and not nicotine. It's a big misconception over the last 20, 30 years of the American public thinking that nicotine is what kills you in a cigarette, but it's not. It's the smoke and the tar that causes cancer and lung cancer and all these tobacco related illnesses. So once you remove that equation, you've removed most of the harm of the action of intaking nicotine in a safer, cleaner delivery method. Now, by no means am I saying that electronic cigarettes are safe, but there is no, I mean, that word is, you can walk outside of your studio there and just
Yeah.
get hit by a car, right? So there's no, but by science and by magnitudes of studies, they have been proven that they're less harmful than cigarettes. That's it's some estimates from the Royal College of Physicians put it at 95% less harmful than cigarettes. So basically, it's I always equate it as to using condoms when you're having sex. It's not 100% proof. It's 99% you're not going to have a kid, right?
Yeah.
Using gloves when you're cutting fish. You might not cut your finger all the way, but you might get, so
Uh-huh.
using knee pads, it's a form of harm reduction. It's like giving methadone to people that have been addicted to heroin. It's exactly the same way. So that's the biggest difference. And the second biggest difference is that unlike a cigarette, vaping does not make you addicted to the product because a cigarette addiction is one of the hardest things. I don't know if any of you smoke, but
Mm-mm.
I'm sure your listeners that have struggled with this or battled with this in their life, they will know that smoking was for me at least, and from a lot of people that I've helped quit smoking, is one of the hardest things that you can do in your life. It's even harder than some drugs to quit. So you don't have that same dependency because the vapor product does not contain all the chemicals that a cigarette does. Over 4,000 different types of chemicals in the today's composition of a cigarette, the way the big tobacco companies make it, which make you more addicted to the product. So you're getting nicotine, but you're really addicted to that physiological effect that a cigarette brings, and that's removed from an electronic cigarette as well.
Huh. Is there enough research right now in e-vapor products I mean, obviously with cigarettes, we have decades and decades of research. For the
Sure.
e-vapor industry, is there enough research right now where they can come out and say, we can track this many deaths related to vaping, or we can track this
Sure.
many, is there research out there for that right now?
Sure. There's absolutely zero deaths by using these products. Absolutely zero deaths. There's over 6,000 peer-reviewed studies that show the efficacy of these products and the safety of these products, and none of the deaths, especially if you remember a year ago when we had this huge EVALI crisis in America, people were talking about vaping makes your lungs and it's taking teenagers to the hospital.
Yeah.
None of those people that were in the hospital were ever connected to nicotine vapor products. All of them were vaping tainted THC carts from California that were manipulated with vitamin E acetate. I'm not a weed guy, but I know a lot about it because I have to because of my
Yeah.
research. But apparently, liquid THC, if it's thicker, is more desirable by users. I don't know why, but that's what they say. So some drug dealers out in California are like, okay, well, we're just going to cut it with some vitamin E acetate, make it look thicker, and we make more profits. And then they flooded the market in America
Wow.
with these dank carts that were called or whatever. A lot of them, got busted. But those carts contain an oil. So oil is not good to be inhaled into your lungs, and this is what's causing some of these kids to go to the hospital and even some deaths. Now, keep in mind, you're 17 years old, you get sick, you go to the hospital, you're the parents there, and the doctor asks you, what were you doing before? Nobody's going to say, oh, yeah, I was vaping a dank cart,
Yeah, no.
So they were saying, oh, I was vaping. So the CDC, of course, and the people that are against vaping took this and ran with it on a huge publicity stunt and scared a lot of people away from vaping, even drove people that actually had quit smoking with vaping. It drove those people back to combustible cigarettes, which is criminal in my opinion. But as far as the product itself, nicotine vapor products contain no oil. They don't operate with oil. Okay, they're all vegetable-based, propylene glycol, liquid nicotine that's used in the same nicotine as patches and gums, the same pharmaceutical nicotine, and then different aromas or flavorings that are added in there to give the different tastes for the people what they want. So, yeah, zero deaths attributed to.
That's great. I mean,